Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Bitfinex, guys, and it's been a crazy couple days, man. I mean, this has been very, very interesting. Okay, it started with, as I told you guys, this massive move here where market makers came in, tried to clear out stop losses. Clearly, that didn't work. So really, the only thing, if we come back here and we look at short positions, guys, the only thing that they have left to do at this point is to bring price up. Let me go. There we go. I mean, we're looking at shorts, guys, and still, even through all this, they're barely phased overall. We've got a slight decline yesterday, kind of moving sideways as of today. Had a little wick here, but no major reaction yet. So I think that that retail is still holding on to their short positions, guys. Market makers need to liquidate those short positions. And again, guys, they're doing everything they can. I told you if the price was sitting here last time we spoke, guys, I told you if we break above this ascending support line, or what was acting as resistance, this resistance line here, I said the next point we're going to come up to is test this 65.40. If that can break, I said we're going to head right to 67.50. Price came up, wicked right off 64.40, or 65.40, came back down, and then just shot right back up right through it. And sure enough, guys, it just, soon as it broke 65.40, it shot right up, and we hit this zone at 67.50 where I told you we'd find resistance. Remember, that is the neckline of the prior inverse head and shoulders here. It's been tested numerous times in the past, always acted as a strong resistance. We're seeing that now. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't break through it. It just means as of right now, this is where we're finding resistance, and this is going to be an extremely interesting point, guys. I do think that if you wanted to enter a short, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but I also, at the same time, guys, this bullish momentum that we've seen here is just that. I mean, if I look at this from an Elliott point of view, yes, we might see a short correction here, but if my count is right, and of course we're looking at this as 5 waves up. We already talked about that before, in other videos in the past. I usually don't discuss Elliott, guys, because in this market the volume has been so incredibly weak. But I'm going to start looking at it a little bit more. Volume starting to increase a little bit more. So if I look at all of this as my A, this as my B, and down here this wick as the ending of our shortened C, and it certainly is a shortened C. It came back just below this A wave, and by just below, I mean literally by like $20 or $10 or something ridiculous. But still, it's still technical, Price came down. There was our B, very shortened C, or excuse me, our C, very shortened C. And if that is the case, I'm looking at this as, excuse me, guys, I'm looking at this as a possible. This doesn't mean this has to be a case, but a possible subwave 1, subwave 2. For the subwave 3. Now, the question is, where is that subwave 3 going to go? I think that if this count is correct, and that's a big if, that is a big if, guys. But if this count is correct, I think it's going to have to come up somewhere up in here. Let me explain. Let me get rid of that actually. So if I pull my fib and I go, and again, assuming that count is correct, and I'm not saying that it has to be, but let's just assume for a second it is. We pull our fib extension. Usually our wave 3 is often the longest and the strongest. Certainly is looking like a very strong, impulsive looking wave as of right now. Now we found price came up, found resistance almost at the 1-to-1 ratio. Excuse me, on the fib, wicked just above it, and then came back down. Of course, the body is below our support here, or excuse me, our resistance of 67.50. But normally on our wave 3, if they're the longest and the strongest, guys, very oftentimes they come up and they hit the 1618 fib. So that would put our wave 3 target somewhere around 7,070, somewhere thereabouts, if this count is correct. Now, we know within that wave 3, of course, they do have subwaves, so if we saw a small correction here in the short term, that wouldn't be surprising at all. Not at all, but I am seeing a real possibility if we get a decisive break above 67.50, and by decisive I mean if we get a 4-hour candle that not just opens, not just closes, but opens and closes above 67.50 on the 4-hour, I think that would be a decisive break. If that does happen, I think we're going to very quickly come up into this zone here. Which would be about 69.50. Why is 69.50 a relevant target? I've told you guys this many times in the past, guys. And by the way, I mean, there are some people out there that are literally using my TA and repeating it almost word for word. And I know exactly who you are. So I mean, I'm usually not petty like that, guys. But I mean, come on. I mean, give me a break. I mean, if you're going to do some TA, at least do your own thinking and don't repeat my words, literally word for word. So anyway, guys, sorry about that. I usually don't say things like that, but it was a little annoying to watch somebody steal your content. All right, getting back to that. So why is that 69.50 a very relevant zone? It's very relevant for a number of reasons. If we come back and we look at the last 3 times that price retraced, excuse me, what do we have here? Let's start 1, 2, 3. Let's start with this one here. So this one went up to about 10,000. So if I take the prior high off that, which is where you pull your fib, right? Prior high, swing low. What do we have? It hit perfectly right inside the golden pocket, right inside the 618 and the 65 fib level. That's a perfect hit right inside the golden pocket. Okay, so let's look at the next time. The next one was here. This peak was about 8,500, somewhere thereabouts. And I know I've showed you guys this before, but it's worth repeating for those that haven't seen it. If I go swing high, swing low, what do we have? Perfect hit right inside the golden pocket between the 618 and the 65 fib level. So that's 2 in a row. Okay, let's look at this next one here that ended up at about 674.50. And we go swing high, swing low again. Now this one's a little more tricky because for the first time price came up here, created a high, but then it kind of moved sideways for about a week. For about a week, it just kind of moved sideways and almost created a pivot high. So I've got to take, algos are all taking their pivot high right off of this zone here. So if I go swing high, swing low from that zone here, from that zone there, what do I get? I get a perfect hit right inside the golden pocket for a 3rd time in a row. And I will point out, even if I extend it up to this point here, we almost have a wick that hits almost at the 618, and it certainly doesn't go above the 618. And if I even go prior to that, if I go back not 3 but 4 zones back, so we go back and we check this prior high here of 1160, it didn't get up to the 618 fib, it got up to about the 50. So it didn't even go as high as the 618 fib. So if I go swing high, swing low here, yeah, it hit perfectly right at the 50. Okay, which is where we're finding support, or excuse me, resistance right now. Okay, so if I come back in here, why is this relevant? Well, if I go swing high, swing low from this pivot, swing high, and then we go pivot low, what do we have? We're hitting perfectly off the 50 right now. When I told you guys this last time, the 50 fib level coincided perfectly with the 67.50 resistance. So that's acting as resistance, clearly a very strong resistance. If we break above that, with this zone right here, this is the 618 in the golden pocket. So that's between the 618 and the 65 fib level. This is where the last 3 retraces hit. So my point is, if we break above this zone here, 67.50, I think we're going to come into this zone here, which is somewhere around 69.50. If we hit at that 69.50 and break back down, that's going to continue to follow this bearish trend that we've been going through since December. It's just going to be one more pivot high, pivot low, et cetera, et cetera. If we break above this, zone, that's going to break that trend, and for the first time since December, we will have retraced above the golden pocket. For the first time. That's, in my opinion, a very, very bullish sign if we can get that to happen. And we are very close to seeing if that's going to happen, see if we get one more kick up. Now, I'm not saying that will. It's going to be interesting to see if we can get volume to continue to increase, to come up. But as of right now, guys, it's looking very interesting, like we might test that. And that's going to be a very, very relevant test. If we get a strong rejection off that zone like we have the last 3 times in a row, then okay, we know this is following the same pattern it always has. And then we want to watch out for below. If it breaks this zone, breaks above this zone, that's going to be an extremely bullish indication, in my opinion. Now, if we come over here and we look at short positions, market makers have every incentive to continue to drive price up. Why? Because shorts remain stacked. Where do they have to drive price to start liquidating those shorts? Well, I think a lot of them a lot of people that entered those short positions probably entered up here. And I'm sure they've probably moved their stop losses to initially I'm sure their stops were probably, they entered up here, they probably had a stop loss sitting somewhere up here at about 7,600, 7,700, somewhere thereabouts. So some are obviously, to liquidate all of them, they're going to probably have to bring price up here above 7,700, somewhere thereabouts. Is that realistic? We'll see. But if they do that, if market makers do that, they run a very strong risk of sparking an actual real bull run. And that may be what's starting here. I'm not saying it's not. It may very well be. We come over here and we look at volume. Volume today is sitting at 5.7 billion. Now that's, relatively speaking, that's nothing. But if we look at it over the last couple weeks, we haven't seen, that is for the first time since September 6th, we're reaching volume over 5 billion today. Between that, it's been 3 billion, 4 billion, right around there. Prior to that September 6th, we have to go back to August 14th before we got above 5 billion. So yes, we are seeing a little increase in volume, a surge in volume, people getting excited. That's not necessarily indicative of a bull run. We need to see a volume spike much, much higher than it currently is, but that's still a good sign so far, guys. So let's see if we can get that volume to increase. Let's see if we can get some new money entering the market. I believe that people have probably moved their stop losses more than likely at least to break even, so at least to this zone here, probably targeting this zone here, probably sitting at around 7,000. So if they can bring it up to a 7,000, that could possibly liquidate those short positions. And we'll just have to wait and see if they end up doing that, because right now what they're doing isn't working. Shorts remain stacked. Now, if they push price sideways, that might scare some of these shorts out of the market, but maybe not. Again, we just have to wait and see how this ends up playing out. So I guess the bottom line is, guys, if we can break above 67.50 at this point, guys, I think there's a high probability we're going to immediately rise up to at least 6,900 to 6,950, and that is going to be, as I've told you guys for weeks and weeks and weeks, that is going to be the major test for Bitcoin. Can we break above that golden pocket? Can we break that constant trend of retracing to the golden pocket? And if we can, then I will start to believe, and if we get volume to back it, I will start to believe that we may have seen a bottom and we may be watching a trend reversal. I'm not willing to say that yet because we just don't have the volume to back it up. Now, some altcoins do. Ripple is going nuts right now, and that's just that's based on some good fundamental news, but a lot of that has got to be some kind of insider trading, which we don't know. But this isn't about Ripple right now. But so some coins are seeing those massive spikes. Bitcoin right now, you need to get above 67.50, and then we need to get above that golden pocket. Coming over, checking our moving averages, guys, we can see this is on the daily. We can see that price is coming up. It's just now breaking above the 55-day EMA. That's a very bullish sign, in my opinion. If we can get the daily candle closing above the 55-day EMA, clearly it's broken above the 50-day moving average. If we can get it closing above the 55-day EMA, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign, in my opinion. We're seeing the 8-day EMA start to cross over the 21-day EMA. Again, a very, very bullish sign, in my opinion. So again, guys, we're seeing a lot of bullish momentum. If you wanted to start dollar cost averaging in, not a bad idea to do that at this point, but just be very, very careful, knowing that this market could at any point in time, the quicker that it goes up, the quicker it can fall down. Now, if this is the bull run that we're all hoping for, this thing could just, all TA, as I told you yesterday, could go right out the window, and this thing is just going to crash through resistance points like it's butter. But until then, guys, we have to trade on probability. Probability tells me right now, if you haven't taken a position, I would wait for a pullback, possibly a retesting of 65.40. If 65.40, if price doesn't, go back to the 4-hour, if price comes back down, test this 65.40 so what was resistance should act as support. If it does act as support, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign, guys. If price starts bouncing above 65.40, comes down, gets a retrace, and bounces off there, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign, in my opinion. In fact, I would like to see a little bit of a healthy correction at this point, and then a nice impulsive bounce up to break above 67.50. But again, we'll just wait and see how this plays out, guys. Again, if this is the bull run everyone's waiting for, all TA will go out the window, and we will just crash through resistance point. We're not there yet. How do I know we're not there yet? Because volume is still sitting below 6 billion. We need, as I told you yesterday, we need to see volume consistently above 8 to 10 billion per day on Bitcoin before we can start declaring new money entering the market. And new money is exactly what we need to have a sustainable bull run. As of right now, guys, this looks like still a lot of market makers possibly manipulating price, going on a stop hunt, but that can turn in a moment. Even though, and market makers know that, which is why they haven't done this already. They know that a stop hunt can quickly spark new money entering the market, which can quickly spark a bull run. So it's a very, very fine line that they're walking right now, and all we can do is sit back and wait and see how it plays out. Again, guys, if you haven't entered the market already, I'd wait for a pullback, maybe to 65.40, somewhere thereabouts, but I have a very tight stop, knowing that as quickly as things go up, it can come right back down. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote, resteam, or a like if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe, take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.